Hi everyone, nice to meet you again. I'm Joan.
And I am James.
Besides Lantern Festival, another traditional festival related to the moon is the Mid-Autumn Festival. James, do you know anything about Mid-Autumn Festival?
Yes, it falls on the 15th day of the 8th month of the lunar calendar.
Yes. The Mid-Autumn Festival is celebrated with moon viewing and sharing mooncakes with the family. It originated in the earlier Tang Dynasty, and numerous poems have been written after that. Critics say the best poem about the Mid-Autumn Festival is probably Prelude to Water Melody, written by Su Shi, a great poet of the Song Dynasty, gazing at the moon and thinking of his brother, as well as the ups and downs of his own life. Su Shi composed this poem, or more specifically, a 词. I would like to introduce you more about 词.
Of course, Joan. 词 is a type of lyric poetry which had its peak during the Song Dynasty. It's rhythmic, and the tonal patterns are based on the tunes of certain songs. As the length of the lines in a 词 poem can differ, it is also called long and short line verse. 词 poetry followed the tradition of 诗经 and 乐赋. Lyrics from anonymous popular songs were developed into a sophisticated literary genre. Joan, could you tell us more about that?
Yes. The form was further developed during the Tang Dynasty and reached its zenith in the Song Dynasty. Like Tang poetry, 宋词 holds a very important position in the history of Chinese literature. In the course of its development, many outstanding composers such as Su Shi, Xin Qiji, and Lu You have appeared. So let's look at this Su Shi's most famous 词 poetry.
Okay.
Prelude to Water Melody, 水调歌头。明月几时有，把酒问青天。不知天上宫阙，今夕是何年？我欲乘风归去，又恐琼楼玉宇，高处不胜寒。起舞弄清影，何似在人间？转朱阁，低绮户，照无眠。不应有恨，何时长向别时圆？人有悲欢离合，月有阴晴圆缺，此事古难全。但愿人长久，千里共婵娟。I will leave the English version for James.
Thank you. Remember, it is entitled Prelude to Water Melody. And Joan, who translated this poem?
Professor Xu Yanchong once again.
Very good. How long will the full moon appear? Wine cup in hand, I asked the sky. I do not know what time of the year 'twould be tonight in the palace on high. Riding the wind, there I would fly. Yet I'm afraid the crystalline palace would be too high and cold for me. I rise and dance, with my shadow I play. On high as on earth, would it be as gay? The moon goes round the mansions red, through gauze-draped window soft to shed her light upon the sleepless bed. Why then, when people part, is the oft full and bright? Men have sorrow and joy, they part or meet again. The moon is bright or dim, and she may wax or wane. There has been nothing perfect since the olden days, so let us wish that man will live long as he can. Though miles apart, we'll share the beauty she displays.
In this verse, the poet talks about the moon and discusses the changes in nature and man's fortunes. The emotions are deep and complicated. For the first two lines, the writer compares the life of a man with the changing face of the moon. It reminds us impermanence of life. The moon is a perfect carrier of emotions like nostalgia and fullness. A full moon embodies perfection and unity, while a gloomy night may remind people of their misfortunes. When the moon is round and fair, but people are separated with their beloved ones, that's even more heartbreaking. However, the poet realizes that no one has an easy ride. Just like the moon may not always be bright, the imperfections or unsatisfactory things has been going on since the beginning of time. But should we get bogged down with things that we cannot make a difference? Here, Su Si gives his answer, a very optimistic one. Change your attitude and stay positive. So we have this everlasting line, 但愿人长久，千里共婵娟. The poet hopes people can avoid indulging in the sorrows and instead appreciate the fact that as long as the ones we love and miss are healthy and happy, we can all admire the same moon high in the sky and share this eternal beauty. Until this day, people still use this verse to express their wishes for family members or friends who can't be with them, especially during festivals. Like the Chinese poet Su Si, the English poet Percy Shelley also points out that the moon is solitary. Both of the poets ask questions of the moon, the chief of which concerns constancy and hopeless love. Shelley's moon cannot find a companion that will be true to it.
Thank you, Joan. Perhaps I could tell our viewers more about Percy Shelley. He was born in 1792 and passed away in 1822. He was one of the leading Romantic poets and an intense and lyrical poet of the English language. Percy Shelley rebelled against English politics and conservative values. He was not only a Platonist, but also an idealist. His work reflected the radical ideas and revolutionary optimism of his era. Shelley was born in Sussex in southern England. He spent his childhood in Eton and went on to study at Oxford University. In 1811, Shelley wrote and published an anti-religious pamphlet, The Necessity of Atheism. For this, he was expelled from the university and disowned by his father. In 1818, he was compelled to leave England and spent the rest of his life in Italy.
While in Italy, Shelley and Byron become very good friends. In 1822, he met a similar fate as Chinese poet Li Bai. He droned along the coast of Italy. His major works including Ode to the West Wind, Prometheus and Bond, To a Sky-like. Shelley did not save fame during his lifetime, but recognition of his achievements grows steady following his death. In the poem To the Moon, Shelley compares the moon to a lonely person. Although he has great talent, he cannot be appreciated by the world, which is exactly the portrait of his poet himself. Let's read this poem, To the Moon, by Percy Shelley. Art thou pale for weariness of climbing heaven and gazing on the earth, wondering compareness among the stars that have a different birth, and ever-changing like a joyless eye that finds no object worthy constancy?
Thank you, Joan. Perhaps I could talk more about this poem. Shelley addressed the moon in this short romantic lyric and sees the moon's pallor as the possible result of its sorrow at having to climb the sky alone and look down upon the earth. One of the best known moon poems in English. Shelley not only observes the pallor of the moon, but also remarks on the sad or weary way that the moon climbs the night sky.
The ancient moon tonight will be as bright as it was over 100 years ago. We hope you enjoy the serenity and the poems that these preeminent scholars wrote in her night. Okay, that's the end of this episode. See you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.